is up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York, calling from the quarantine zone again, and on the phone we got Matt and Adam from Pigs. Thank you guys so much for your time today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's so awesome to have you here. The new album Viscerals, which came out just this past April, is absolutely awesome. Do you guys just want to talk about like how the making of this record was, like what the thought process was going into the studio for the making of this album?
Yeah, it was time to make an album, basically. It'd been, a year and a half since our last one. And we'd been touring pretty constantly since King of Cowards, which was the album before that. And yeah, it came around to it was just time, and we realised that we'd spent all of our spare time, all of our time as a band, just touring, that we hadn't actually written any new tracks. So we were basically hid away. Sam, the other guitarist, he owns a recording studio in Newcastle, where we're from, and we booked in like 2-3 weeks in his studio, and we just sort of hid away during the hottest month of the year in this studio with no air conditioning, and we just hammered out the album in those 3 weeks, pretty much, writing wise. And then again, a few weeks later, booked in to do the recording, and it was fairly painless this time round.
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly a new way for us to put together an album, though. Like, we've been used to having a bit more time, I suppose, to put things together, but as Adam said, like, our schedule over the past, like, I suppose, like 2 years preceding the King of Cowards album, was so full on just with touring. We barely had like any time to do anything else or energy to do much else. So the writing of Viscerals was quite, for me, it felt like quite an intense process. Not in a negative sense, but it was very full on, because we had like an allocated amount of time basically to get it written, get it recorded, and that's certainly a process that's fairly new to us.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've noticed that like this album like had a lot of different sounds in it. Like, I thought a track like Reducer was very different from a track like Crazy in Blood or World's Crust or Hell's Teeth or something like that. So, like, was it almost kind of like a preconceived idea to make an album with many different sounds and many different vibes and everything like that, or did it kind of just happen that way?
I think it was a lot of that might be down to, it was a little bit more sort of individualism in the writing of the tracks. So Reducer, for example, was Johnny and Chris. They sort of wrote the bulk of that, the structure of that, and the main riffs, kind of separate to us. We were busy doing other things, and they started with that. And at the same time, Sam, for example, was writing Hell's Teeth, which was more or less his track. I mean, we all come together and we all add things to it, and we change bits and pieces. But I think there was probably a little bit more individualism on the in terms of the approach to writing the tracks, and I think that shows in some way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I've noticed, like, being, especially, as somebody who has listened to you guys before, like, I feel like, Viscerals has, like, it stands out from an album like King of Cowards and Feed the Rats and so on and so forth. So, like, is it fair to say, like, trying new things and experimenting with your sound is almost, like, key into the band, right?
I think so. I think there's, like Adam says, like, there was a lot of, like, that individualism that was brought to Viscerals, and I think largely part of that came down to like the limited amount of time we'd kind of set ourselves to do the album, because people were coming in with some pretty fully formed ideas, really, of like whole songs. But I think that's to the album's benefit, I think, and I think it's nice that we do trust each other to be able to do that. It's not to say that we can't, like, if someone brings in some ideas, that we can't all kind of collectively kind of change and alter things and discuss them, but there is a level of trust on each other's part to be able to, we kind of are quite confident in each other's abilities, basically, I think.
Yeah, well, I know that Rubberneck, I believe, was the first single that was released off of this album, right?
It was we announced the album with Reducer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But with like Reducer and Rubbernecker, like I almost feel like those don't even serve as like a clear representation for what this whole album is going to sound like. Like going from New Body to Blood and Butter right afterwards, I was just like, it really seems like the music. Like I don't know if this is what you don't. I don't know how much you like this label, but I almost consider Pigs to be like an experimental band, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we that's the term that's been used for us quite a lot, really. I don't know, like, in terms of the way I view our band is in a really sort of simplistic way, I guess. It's like we're a heavy rock band, but one thing that we do concern ourselves with, and I think this is why maybe when you hear, like, or people hear snapshots of us in terms of singles instead of a full album, they're not really getting the full picture, because when we are putting together an album, we do focus on, like, the entire aesthetic of the album and the dynamics of the album and the kind of journeys that you can take people on from start to finish. So yeah, in terms of doing things like having a track like, you know, New Body going into Blood and Butter, those are all, like, really, we think about those moments, you know, and we'll piece things together in order to take people on different journeys.
Mm-hmm. So do you almost like recommend, because clearly presentation is part of the art, do you almost feel like people shouldn't listen to this album on shuffle? They should start with Reducer and end with Hell's Teeth? Like, or could a listener maybe approach this album from any angle?
Yeah, I think we struggled with the track listing, to be honest. We had a few different variations. In that sense, I think, with the exception of maybe a couple of songs that I think work specifically paired together, I think it can be easily served just as well having the album on shuffle, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, well, I think individually, I think the tracks, hopefully, I like to think that they'll all stand up for themselves. Like, you know, Reducer is, like, ultra punchy and kind of aggressive in it, or assertive, and the likes of, like, Rubbernecker maybe a bit more kind of euphoric and melodic, and I think songs like that can stand on their own. But in terms of, like, shuffling the album, I don't know. Personally, for me, I'd kind of like people to listen to it in the ordering that we ended up deciding it. But that's not to say it's actually the best order. Like, the others.
Well, yeah, that's it. I mean, it's definitely preferable to listen to it as presented, but I don't think you'd be doing a huge disservice by listening to it in your own preference.
There you go. Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. You know, like, is it almost fair to say, has there ever been a time where maybe you guys are creating something and almost kind of like a happy accident occurred? Like you go in with one idea and then you end up with a completely different one?
That's pretty much the entire album.
That's the entire band.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, we do. We have had... There's a few tracks there's certain tracks that are very much thought out and very methodical in their sort of structure, and then some which, while just sort of playing around and sort of jamming it, for want of a better word, that we've realised certain bits work, and like the extended outros and things like that. Sort of, we'd be playing it through. Oh, just a minute, why don't we just play this for 3 minutes? And it works. Well, we think it works. So in that sense, yeah, there's a few, at least unexpected for us, a few unexpected happy accidents.
Yeah. Here comes the most difficult question, because you have a song like Halloween Bolson that's 9 minutes, but then you have a song like Blood and Butter that's less than 2 minutes. How do you know when a song is done?
I think we still don't.
Yeah. It's
goes, that finished? Are we sure that's finished?
Yeah. It is quite hard to kind of walk away from certain things, especially during like the recording process, and walk away from them and go, right, that's finished, instead of like kind of keep going back and trying to rearrange things, or pulling different bits out, or adding more things. There's certainly quite a delicate balance to that. It's almost like a strange art form that we've probably not gotten to grips with ourselves, in terms of working out, when things are finished. It's certainly like a discipline that I think a band like ours, we certainly need. Like, we need to be quite disciplined in ourselves, in terms of like, right, okay, that's good, and we should move on now, rather than kind of, I don't know, trying to chase the kind of dragon of perfection, I suppose, which is probably only going to serve to dilute what we do, as opposed to enhance it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like it's like fair to say that like almost this album was like organized chaos. You know how to like go all out and really throw yourselves in there, but you also don't like want to lose yourself at the same time.
Yeah, totally. I think like certainly in the very, very early iterations of the band, we like sort of throwing everything at the wall and like running with it, and like having like huge sort of like rolling jams and stuff like that, like, which still to this day we like really enjoy, and I think as you've said, you can hear that in what we do now. But I think it became something that became kind of easy for us to do, like highly enjoyable, but like we got quite efficient at it. And I think if we continued to just keep that as the blueprint of the band, it would grow tired, I guess. So now we're a bit more disciplined in that sense, and we'll kind of know, like, we'll use our intuition as to whether certain sections can open up a bit more, and we can kind of let them roll and really kind of let it loose off the reins. And it makes those moments more enjoyable now that we're kind of restricting them a bit and holding them back, and then sort of releasing them at certain moments. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Is there ever a time where maybe a concept or lyrics or a story even could determine the music itself? Like, have you ever gone that route, or is music always need to be laid down before there's any form of lyrics?
Yeah, the lyrics always come after the music. It's just the way I've kind of grown in the habit of doing things with the band, because I've never been a vocalist outside of this band ever. So I've never written lyrics for anything else other than Pigs, and the way I kind of like grew into the vocalist position, it was just like kind of, I don't want to use the word freestyle, but kind of improvising vocals over the top of the guys when we were in a rehearsal room, and that's how I kind of started doing things, and I've kind of continued to do that. There are certain elements of this album, and again I think it was due to kind of the time constraint, which kind of forced me to write lyrics at home, like just listening to demos on the headphones, and that's something something I kind of struggled with initially because it's not something I'd done before, but that's not to say that it was the wrong way for me to do things. It was something that was new to me and kind of challenging, but just because it was challenging doesn't mean to say that it's not a good thing to try. So there was a bit more of that. Yeah, totally. So there was a bit more of that on this album, as opposed to just coming up with lyrics kind of ad-lib in the rehearsal room.
Yeah, and kind of, I have two more questions for you guys, but one thing, it's kind of back to what you both said about, like, the presentation being part of the art, because really, I was also, like, I remember, like, getting the promo for the album and, like, you know, the press release about you guys. I really love the photo shoot that you guys did and everything like that, and stuff. It almost seems like you guys it's more than just about the music, in a way, for you guys, right? There's a visual aesthetic that you have to follow to go along with the music and stuff as well.
Yeah, I don't know. It's difficult because we're not. We don't sort of intentionally dress a certain way, or this is just, you know, it's how we present ourselves day to day, and have done prior to, you know, playing in gigs or what have you. But I guess when it comes to like an album campaign or you know, doing the press shots around the album, we like to try and tie it in with the theme of the album, of the artwork. So I mean, like, you know, like we'll sort of begin with I guess King of Cowards began with the sort of we went with the 7 Deadly Sins because of Matt's lyrics, and that was the sort of bit of a theme of the album, and then carried that over. With Viscerals, we had the name of the album and a sort of aesthetic, which also a musical aesthetic, before Matt had any lyrics and before. But yeah, we do like to tie it all in, but rather than it being a sort of personality thing, personality aesthetic, it's kind of it's very specific to the band in that point in time.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. And the final question I wanted to ask you is when it comes to your live presence, and, you know, I have yet to see you guys live. I hope that will change after this freaking virus that I choose not to name is gone. If this virus was a person, it would be the asshole in the mosh pit. Let's just get that out of the way. You know, when it comes to your live presence, is there maybe a similar energy into your live shows as you do when you're songwriting, or is playing live and songwriting almost a completely separate art altogether?
I mean, yeah, there's a sort of different energy to them both, I suppose, but everything that we do when we're kind of in the rehearsal room in terms of writing is with a mind to playing it live. And we always have a kind of mentality of like, well, how is this gonna work in like in a live like gig atmosphere? And that's always the end goal, as opposed to, oh well, it's not gonna work in the recording studio, if that makes sense. So like, yeah, that's our aim, to like present something that's gonna be like ultra gnarly when you play it live. I think like the trick for Sam, who does who records the albums, is how to kind of capture that for the record rather than the other way around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like you try to execute the material so people know what song you're playing live, but like you also allow yourself to have fun with it. It's not like you guys are just standing there with your instruments or whatever, like just trying to execute it note for note for note, right?
Yeah, totally. And I think like you used a phrase earlier, like, well, you used the word chaos, and like, yeah, part of Sam's job is to kind of try and document that chaos rather than eradicate it. And that chaos that you hear on the record is like hopefully part of what you'll get if you see us live.
Yeah. You guys were supposed to play at St. Vitus recently, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You please reschedule that ASAP.
I hope so.
As soon as we can, as soon as as soon as there's not a threat to our life, then we'll do it.
Fair enough. Yeah, might want to wait till that blows over, just to be safe.
Yeah, I think, but no, but yeah, we can't wait to get over.
Yeah.
So yeah, sooner or later, hopefully.
Yeah, and that brings me to my final question before we go. Just, for the time being, are you planning on maybe doing any like live stream performances? Is there a way that fans could support you through merch and everything like that? Like, where can people find your merch and everything like that?
Yeah, we got some merch up at it's just pigsx7.com. Got some fetching caps on the way soon, and yeah, some new shirts and such. If anyone wishes to look fabulous, then that's the place to go for it.
Yeah. Do you go by Pigs times 7, or if a real fan wants to go, could they just say Pigs 7 times like I did in the beginning?
We just go in casual conversation, but the extra mile, it's definitely appreciated.
Yes, go the extra mile or you're a poser.
The extra mile, we do, but you do.
But thank you guys so much, everybody. We are here with Matt and Adam of Pigs. Be sure to pick up the new album Viscerals, and this is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.